Today's hot sheet, I'm discussing cross-market demand in the final quarter of last year, the median age of first-time home buyers from the past 12 months, as well as weekly unemployment report. The data is out. Let's take a look, see what the impacts will be on a move forward for rates. Today is Thursday, February 26, 2026. I am Byron Lazine, and the hot sheet starts now. Live from Naples, Florida. It's a pleasure to be with you wherever you may be tuning in. Thanks for taking a portion of your morning or your day if you're on the replay here on the hot sheet. Live every single day at 9:30 Eastern time on YouTube at Now Bam. If you're listening to the replay, Spotify, Apple, appreciate you. I see a whole bunch of you guys here. I see, Gary Ashton. Is that Gary Ashton in Vegas right now? He must be at R4, big Remax event. I was just speaking to one of the NAR executives, very high up on the chain of command. Gary actually knows this person. Gary was in the room when we had our first encounter. He's also in Vegas. NAR's got some stuff going on in Vegas right now. And I'm just teasing this out here. Tomorrow on Knowledge Brokers podcast, I have one of the NAR executives coming on, and I asked questions. Listen, I asked questions that nobody in the industry has asked directly to their face. Nobody's asked this direct of a question or questions rather about the history of some of the ads and ad spend and these kind of things. And so looking forward to sharing that with you guys all tomorrow. That'll be tomorrow morning. We're releasing that right after the hot sheet tomorrow. So 10 a.m. Eastern time. So that'll be earlier than we typically release the Knowledge Brokers pods on Friday. So look out for that. All right. Realtor.com, friends over at RDC, put out a report on out-of-market shoppers, cross-market demand, identifying, okay, where are the feeder markets? Are you in a feeder market? Should you be network? I see some networking. Jason Florian here, networking with Sam saying, hey, in the comments, let's do some referrals, okay? The best place to create referral networks are, where's the feeder market for me? Okay, I had this conversation with Michael Valdez, the global CEO for, or the international CEO, I think, for LPT. We were having a conversation about a mutual friend of ours, a gentleman named Stan Ponte. He's kind of a Sotheby's legend in New York City. And Stan understood his feeder markets, Westchester and Lower Fairfield County, the Connecticut shoreline. And he used to every single week pick an office in that Sotheby's network, and he'd go and create relationships, do a 15, 20-minute conversation, talk at a meeting or whatever, and then just create hand-to-hand relations like a politician, shaking hands and kissing babies. And he got all the referrals in New York City, all the Sotheby's agents. Like, how does Stan get all the referrals? He put in the work for years, going and visiting an office every single week, keeping in touch with people, but he did it in the right places. Just because you might love, back then you might love warm weather. Maybe you love the Carolinas. Well, the Carolinas is not a big feeder market for New York City, like Westchester, Jersey, and the Connecticut shoreline. Okay. I don't think he wanted to spend a bunch of time in Connecticut, but hey, that's the feeder market. Okay. Certainly, certain markets in Connecticut is where people are like, hey, I got to move into the city now. I just got to be closer to work. I'm sick of taking the train, whatever it might be. So here's what's going on right now, according to Realtor.com. It's got a ton of data on this stuff. Right now, 62% of home views are coming from out-of-market buyers. Okay, so, if this is something that's particular to your micro market, to your local market, well, I got a lot of people coming from out of market. And it's matching this national trend that Realtor.com is identifying right now, well, then I really need to be aware of what those markets are, how I can run, a relevant ad for their needs into those markets, how I can create those referral networks, spend the time, going into spamming people in a Facebook group of like, I'm open for referrals, or jamming somebody when they say, hey, does anybody know somebody in here? And you just see, all the comments there. That play is just kind of beat down. It's a desperate play. That post never gets made on Facebook if somebody knows somebody in that market, because the relationship, the system, the process has already been created. The position of strength is like, oh, I'm going to go do the work behind the scenes to be able to have those referrals come automatically. Okay. So, not that I wouldn't, put my name down on a Facebook post if I see that and it's relevant. The point is, hey, the systems and the process built behind that are going to offer more consistency on earning those referrals. So 62% of online views today, and this is the 100 largest metros. This is a trend across the 100 largest metros, come from out-of-market shoppers. Okay, so these larger metros, bigger cities are seeing out-of-market shoppers. This is up from 48.6% in 2019. Okay, so pre-pandemic, this is up. We're still living, some of the things that happened during the pandemic are still relevant today. I don't know about you, but I think a lot more people, work from home, work virtually. I think Zoom hours are up versus 2019. Like, we just carried with us a lot of the, things we became accustomed to during those couple of years. Some of them are like, hey, that's kind of a perk. Like, I don't have to get on as many planes. I found a lot of that's, I was like, oh, this is a benefit. More people are now willing to do Zooms. More people are willing to do virtual. I found that to be quite attractive. Now, obviously, travel has picked way up since then and all of that kind of things. But what we're seeing today versus 2019 is more people, because of some of those lifestyle adjustments, are willing to move into another metro. The other thing today is there is an affordability difference. Okay. Look, Tampa is has many more affordable options than New York City. Austin has many more affordable options than Chicago does right now. And so there's some movements there. You're also seeing headquarters move. Like, Austin today versus 2019 has way more tech companies headquartered there. Okay. They can reach out to a wider pool of employees. Their employees can have a better lifestyle if they live there because of the affordability that's going on in that city. Okay. So you also have that, where on these major metros, people are moving because of their job is moving to these different locations. Okay. Homes in southern metros attract the highest share of out of metro interest. Okay. So that speaks to, exactly what I was just talking about there. Okay. If it's one of these Sunbelt states, higher affordability, better affordability for a buyer, well, yeah, they're going to get more of the interest, more of the demand, out of market demand, highest there in the South. And this is a trend that isn't just here today over the past 12 months. This is a trend that has been consistently building since 2019. If you go back to 2019, the South metros led out of market demand. It was just over 50%. Today, it's near, 65% in the South. So it's beating this, this overall national average. So you go south, and then you go northeast, and then west, northeast, west, over time here, kind of bouncing back and forth between the 2 and the 3 spot. And then the Midwest is, in the 4 spot. There's no medal for the 4th. We need a medal for 4th place. It's Olympic season. I'm sorry, Midwest. You got the Northeast and the West bouncing between silver and bronze, and you're getting runner up, I guess, here consistently. Here it is a little bit more in depth by market. Okay. New York City, obviously always a hotbed. Traffic from local shoppers, though, in 2019 was 82%. Today, that's moved down to 73%, and out of market shoppers has moved up to 26 from 18. So New York City probably an outlier in the Northeast compared to some of these other more expensive cities, moves up. Okay. Interestingly enough, Chicago, same thing, more out of market shoppers there. So the two examples I gave go the opposite direction in comparison to 2019. Now, the out of market shoppers moves up from 18% to 26% in New York. Chicago, it moves up from 20% to 27%. So it gets better, but it's nowhere near the 100 market average of north of 60%. So far less out of market shoppers are willing to consider New York and Chicago, and that's due to the affordability. There's a huge difference between 62 on the average and now 26 and 27%. Okay. So if we look at some of these markets that are up, upwards on the higher end of that, these are the markets here that are local shopper markets: Dallas, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., Boston, Miami, LA. If we look at the markets that are fueled by out of market shoppers, then you're going to look at these affordable markets. Cape Coral right now, probably the most leverage a buyer could have is Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Florida. Lakeland, Winter Haven. Okay, out of market shoppers are upwards of 70% in both of those markets, above 70% in Cape Coral. Or Chapel Hill in North Carolina, Bradenton, Sarasota market. You've got New Jersey market there, New York. So New Jersey, New York line, Daytona Beach, Charleston, Allentown, Pennsylvania, Augusta, Georgia, and Columbia, South Carolina are the markets where you're seeing the most out of town shoppers. If you're in one of these markets, or if you're in one of the markets where it's high local, this is all relevant data to adjust your ad spend. Here's the shifts from local buyer dominated to out of market dominated. Okay, so San Francisco, out of market shoppers here in this past quarter was almost 59%. Back in 2019, it was only 33%. That's a 25% jump. So that's one of the biggest jumps. Philadelphia has a 25% change increase to out of market shoppers. Pittsburgh, 25% increase from 2019. Omaha, Nebraska, 23+% change to the upside in out of market shoppers. Detroit, Hartford, Des Moines, Rochester, New York, Jackson, Mississippi, Sacramento. That rounds up your top 10 in that list. More of the data on that, as well as the slides, all available inside of BAMX underneath the hot sheet classroom you can download and use and make decisions accordingly for your market. Okay, Redfin now suggesting the typical home buyer age is down and down big time. Okay, we heard 41, 42 all of last year. Redfin now saying the typical first-time home buyer age is 35 years old. Redfin's median age of first-time home buyers back a year ago, they suggested was 36. I've seen reports of 40, 41, 42. They're now saying it's 35 years old. For repeat buyers, the median age is 47. That's down from a peak of 52. So these numbers now are moving back down, or at least showing some type of progress down towards more of a normal number. Okay. If you look at NAR was that report for first-time home buyers that I just referenced. NAR had first-time home buyers at 40 years old back in 2025, yet Redfin has it at 35. 2024, Redfin had it at 36. NAR had it at 38. They haven't really been matched up throughout history. They've been a lot closer, the NAR and Redfin number. If you take it from 2010 to 2016, there's only a couple year difference there. You're talking about 31 to 33, 34. So you're within a range. Now there's a much wider gap. between these two numbers. Not sure who, couldn't tell you who's right, by the way. Redfin obviously is probably looking at their internal data, and NAR, I would imagine, has a little bit more access to data. So suggesting that it's somewhere between 35 and 40, but be interesting to see where NAR's next report comes in and if that starts moving down. Okay. Sometimes I just get so frustrated with Redfin. As much as I'd like to beat up on NAR right now, I have a feeling that Redfin is sometimes just doesn't know what the hell they're doing. Redfin, 47 years old, off of 52 at the median age of purchase. Well, guess what? NAR suggests it's 62 years old. Okay, so I don't know if we're glass half full. Maybe we're buying into some of Redfin's numbers on this analysis. Either way, whether Redfin or NAR is correct, or if it's just an average of the two, the first-time home buyer and the repeat buyer are both trending older today than they have in the last 15 to 20 years. Okay, so another thought exercise on, okay, I'm preparing ads. Who am I preparing them for? I'm preparing, a story to enhance my brand. Who am I preparing that for? Okay. Now, it doesn't mean you're not preparing it for a 20-year-old who's going to be educating mom and dad on this is where you should be in the city to buy my home. It's understanding the listing that you have and who's the shopper. Do they have a 20-year-old? Where's that 20-year-old spending time? What kind of story are they going to press the little share button to get over to mom and dad? What age would mom and dad, the buyer of that home, need to be to have a 20-year-old? These are some of the things you need to think about on where am I placing my time, energy, effort on content, whether it's organic or paid or both, to make sure you're speaking to the right customer. Some of that type of analysis is what I dug in when I had the conversation yesterday with this NAR executive, which gets released tomorrow on Knowledge Brokers Podcast. I promise you, nobody has confronted on a 1-hour podcast any NAR executive the way I did yesterday on the pod. No softballs were pitched. That's going to come out tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, right after this pod. So you're the first to know about it. You're also probably the first to know about the initial claims here on jobs on unemployment, because it was just released here within the last 60 minutes. Initial claims was 212,000 for the past week. It's an increase of 4,000 from the previous week's revised level. 4-week moving average is the number we want to watch for. It's 220,000 plus, and it's nowhere near breaking 250,000 on the 4-week average, suggesting that the data we have today, the data we have in 26, up until this date of February 26th, is suggesting that the job market is stable. I mean, we're at a 4.3% unemployment rate. That number has historically always suggested full employment. You're not going to be at 0% unemployment. The average is higher. And so we're pretty much at full employment. We don't see weekly unemployment ticking up. This is obviously going to give Fed cover to do what markets are projecting. Polymarket, CME Group, both projecting no cut. Now in less than 3 weeks, when the next Fed meeting comes up, no cut in really any of the next upcoming 2 meetings are the market projections. And with the job market being stable and fully employed, that would suggest they've got the cover to say, hey, jobs are fine. We're going to keep the Fed funds rate where it is, continue to monitor inflation. 10-year Treasury has been pretty, speaking of stable, been pretty stable all week. The increase we saw yesterday has kind of been chipped off. We're at 4.023. on the low side of the last 5 days on the 10-year. And we're on the low side of the last 24 hours, suggesting we could get our beautiful 5 handle back that we lost yesterday on 30-year fixed rates. Remember, like, for some reason, the 0.01% is nothing on a mortgage payment. You know, it's maybe a buck, like, obviously depending on the size of the loan, but 0.01% from 599 to 6.00 is air on a payment. Where we were last year at near 7% versus 6%, significant on a payment. But 0.01% is nothing. But the confidence of seeing a 599 that we saw for 2 days prior to yesterday's reading of 6%, that even just a little bit of the ego stroke, I have a 599, because you can lead with 5 as opposed to 6.0. They sound different. They feel different. And so hopefully today we can get that 599 or lower back based on the 10-year being a little bit lower. Here is the last week's weekly, 6.01. Tomorrow we'll see if where that one comes in. Oh no, this is the new updated one. Yeah, 6.01 for the week ending February the 19th, 6.01. Very good. Very good numbers on the 30-year fixed. There you go. There's your hot sheet here for today. If you want to continue the conversation, get access to all the hot sheet show notes, there's one place to do it. It's the #1 agent community to close more deals. It's BAMX, happening all on school.com/BAMX. You get the desktop version as well as the app, and you get access to our content drops every single week. We drop new content every single Friday, every Tuesday before the hot sheet, live role play masterminds with scripting each and every single week, as well as the hot sheet daily market data slides, articles, show notes, so that you can use in your one-on-one communication and your show, all inside of BAMX, school.com/BAMX. Continue the conversation inside of BAMX. Go to school.com/BAMX. I'll see you guys back here tomorrow, right before we release the new KBP Knowledge Brokers Pod. Go over to subscribe Knowledge Brokers Pod if you haven't done that, and get ready. Hit the notification bell for that tomorrow. I'll see you guys in the morning. Until then, have a great day. Good luck and toodaloo.